This demo recording by Agnetha Fälskog caught the attention of Karl-Gerhard. He was a rock musician and he discovered Agnetha and got her the chance for a record contract. This week, Karl-Gerhard passed away at the age of 92. In this video, we will take a look back in time at his important contribution to music history with Agnetha Fälskog. Karl-Gerhard Lundkvist was a Swedish singer of rock music. He was one of the first Swedish artists to take the new American rock music and adapt it to Sweden. He was called Sweden's rock king. At the end of the 1950s, he even got to meet Elvis Presley, who praised his single No Wedding Today. Karl-Gerhard's roots in rock music makes it even more special that he was the one who discovered the delicacy of a young female singer, Agnetha Fälskog. At that time, Agnetha was singing with Bernd Enghardt's orchestra, and by 1967 they tried to find a record contract. Bernd Enghardt's wife happened to be the cousin of Karl-Gerhard. Towards the end of the 1960s, Karl-Gerhard had become record producer for the Swedish independent music label Kupol. Also around that time, Agnetha started to write her own songs, which was very unusual for the times. Everything felt right, as if the stars were aligned. However, Agnetha had hesitant feelings, was shy about her songwriting skills. But the band continued to send demo tapes of their recordings to producers, and one of them was Karl-Gerhard. As luck would have it, some of Agnetha's private recordings of her own songs ended up on that tape. Karl-Gerhard was surprised at one of those songs, Agnetha's own song, her second composition, Utan dig. He said, "The voice was exactly right for those times. She sang very well, she nailed those notes bang on." He was impressed and called Agnetha. He told her that he wanted to make a record. Agnetha assumed that it was a joke and slammed the phone down. Karl-Gerhard called again, but she still didn't believe it. Agnetha said, "I just couldn't believe it was true at first. That's how convinced I was that I couldn't accomplish anything of real value." When Agnetha ended up in the recording studio in the end, Karl-Gerhard was her producer, and he also decided to take a chance and record 2 singles at the first session, amongst them 2 of Agnetha's own compositions. She wrote lyrics for a 3rd song. Karl-Gerhard discovered Agnetha's talent, and he was responsible for this first recording session. This was a historical milestone in the career of Agnetha and one of her most emotional experiences. The recording session took place in Stockholm at Philips Studio. Agnetha had never been to Sweden's capital before. Her father Ingvar would join her. The night before the trip by train, Agnetha was nervous. In the morning, she was a nervous wreck and had to take pills to calm down. When she descended the stairs to the studio, the sound of strings caught her attention, and she recognized the strings were recorded for Agnetha's very own song, Jag var så kär, I was so in love. That's the moment when her feelings changed to overwhelming joy, a moment that Agnetha never forgot. She said, "It was the happiest moment of my whole career in music." Karl-Gerhard remembered Agnetha's professionalism and her down-to-earth appearance. She knew exactly what she was doing musically. When I asked her to add a harmony part, she did it like it was the easiest thing. But at the same time, she didn't have much belief in herself. She was very mild and shy. It wasn't "watch out, here I come," but rather "okay, all right, whatever you say." She couldn't believe it was her own song she was hearing. During this first recording session, Agnetha also crossed paths with important future key persons. Stig Andersson wrote the lyrics for the 4th song. A few years later, of course, he would become the manager for ABBA. Sven Olaf Waldorf did the string arrangements, which was so emotional and important for Agnetha. Sven-Olof Waldorf would later work with ABBA on their early recordings and appeared at the Eurovision Song Contest dressed as Napoleon. But apparently the boss of Kupol, Helge Lundkvist, was very skeptical towards modern music and young artists. Little Gerhard was aware of that, but he and Sven-Olof Waldorf were so satisfied with Agnetha's recordings that Little Gerhard and Sven-Olof would have even released the songs on their own. But Kupol's boss listened to the recordings, and he wasn't just delighted, he even wanted to get Agnetha and her father immediately back to the studio to discuss a record deal and sign a contract. It wasn't often that Kupol took the chance for 2 singles by a new and inexperienced singer. Agnetha's first single reached number 1 in Sweden. Little Gerhard continued to contribute 2 of his own songs for Agnetha to sing on her first and second album, wrote lyrics for a 3rd song, and co-produced Agnetha's 3rd album together with Björn Ulvaeus, who, according to Little Gerhard, was really in charge of the album's production. And that's the story of the beginning of Agnetha Fältskog in the music industry. That's the story of how Little Gerhard discovered the talent in Agnetha, her singing and her own songwriting. We say thank you to Little Gerhard for his contributions to rock music in Sweden and for his important role as producer for Kupol, for discovering Agnetha Fältskog and helping her out with that very first recording session. Those songs still sound so fresh and exciting after all those decades. Thank you, Karl-Gerhard Lundkvist, Little Gerhard.